Let's move on. We have a question from a viewer. There we go. My spoonerism for the day. We have a question from a viewer about higher education, which of course this is also a year. It's not just a budget year for pre-K to high school. It's also a budget year for higher education, and that includes both MnSCU and of course the University of Minnesota. So I'm going to look to you, Representative Torkelson, to start us off there. What would you have to say about where that issue is at in this legislative session and where it might go?
Well, I have not had a chance to review the governor's proposal. I have seen the reaction from the president of the University of Minnesota, who seemed to be fairly well pleased with the governor's proposal. I'm a little more focused on the asset side of higher education. As a member of the Capital Investment Committee, we've been looking for a long time at the number of buildings that the state already owns, especially when it comes to education. We seem to have a bigger inventory than we really need. It's my hope that we can phase out some of those buildings that aren't necessary. You know, bricks and mortar aren't as important as they used to be when it comes to education. We can do much of this work online, not in all cases. We do still need to continue to invest in our trade schools and keep our most important buildings in good shape. But it's my hope that we can, do some downsizing in that particular aspect. As far as higher education in general, we are an education state. We have a lot of great institutions, both public and private. And so keeping those costs reasonable is important, but education is expensive, and you got to pay for it.
In higher ed, we usually think about three things. We think about the bricks and mortar, the capital investments, the buildings, and their heating energy systems, their air system, we call that HEAPR. And then we think about how much we're investing in the systems themselves, how well we're supporting just the budgets of the University of Minnesota and the state colleges system, and then the state grant, how much it's costing young people to go to school and whether or not we're supporting them with grant dollars and that sort of thing. And the governor proposes to, I think I put about $50-some million into the state colleges system. I think there's 30 technical and trade colleges around the state and 7 larger colleges. It's a big system, but it's in every corner of the state, very important to support. And $30-some million into the University of Minnesota basic budget, I think almost $40 million. And then proposing about $150 million in bonding to support HEAPR and the buildings and things like that.
And HEAPR, for our viewers, is heating, air conditioning, all of those kinds of things.
Asset preservation.
Asset preservation.
Mm-hmm. And then a boost to the state grant, not just a boost in dollars, but also allowing more individuals to access it and also expanding what it's available for.
Higher education.
We do have to take very seriously our student debt. I mean, this is a burden that this generation is feeling, and so I think we need to think very seriously about this. In the past, some of the ways that we've attempted to do that have not worked out very well. For example, MnSCU. Early in the development of that system, I think there was a belief that every college student should live just, 30 minutes or something from a college campus. And so, that was in the day of a very different kind of transportation system. But now that system that requires a lot of asset preservation that built it, there was an attempt at one point, well, let's close a campus. That was a proposal. It didn't happen because the politics of that local town and that legislator who was representing that just didn't let it happen. So, how you hold down costs in a practical way always carry a certain amount of controversy around them. But clearly, we do need to be careful about the size of that system. But I do think that for students, we just have to be keenly aware of it is a debt that falls heavily on them.
A bit of good news in higher ed. I heard recently, I don't remember the exact numbers, but the amount of time it takes to get a 4-year degree had been up around 6 years, and I believe it's actually come down significantly. So students are taking their education a little more seriously, which also is a big help with student debt.
Yes.
If you can get your
If you can get
degree in a proper amount, in a reasonable amount of time, you don't have to take out so many loans.
That was certainly an expectation I had with my two sons. You will be finishing in 4 years. I mean, that, and maybe students are recognizing that more and more.
Seems that
getting
way.
it done in 4 years is.
And of course, we're about to pick regents. That'll be an interesting process to watch here in a couple of weeks.